with the next chapter of anatomy. In the last class, we have discussed about the introduction of the anatomy and physiology. If you go through your notes and just take a look over there, in 2 minutes you can see that what we have discussed on the last class about the introduction to the anatomy and physiology, that with the anatomy we have discussed about the study of different body parts, makeup of your body. Then we have talked about the physiology, that is your how the organ function, how the body function. Then we have discussed about a little bit about your psychology, the study of mind. And with the study of mind, we have discussed about how many things which are going nowadays in another way. Like suppose we have discussed about the psychosomatic imbalances nowadays. We have discussed about the stress that was the root cause of all the diseases nowadays. And that stress is causing so many diseases over there, like your hypertension is there, right? Diabetes, your imbalances with your digestion, skin infections, cancers, etc. So we have discussed about the disease, that is the discomfort in your ears, imbalances, and we have discussed about the posture and breath. We have to balance. The goal of the training is how to balance these two techniques, the basics. We don't have to jump into the asanas directly. We have to work on the postural balances and the breath balances. The breath is a power. So today we are going to discuss about a little bit more deeper, a little bit about the anatomy, the introduction, what is that? How the body has made up of? What are the different structures that forms the body? People has so many problems, like there is one fear that body has so many structures. Yes, it has. But these structures plays very beautifully if you connect with yourself. Bones, some people say skeletal system, some people say tissues are there, some people say your ligaments, tendons. Yes, it is. But I'm talking about very basics, the origin. I'm talking about very basic and the origin. So if I'm talking about the basics, so we have to come to the basics, like from where the body has been originated, how it forms, how my hand forms, how my eyes forms. If I take you slowly, little bit backwards, yes, you know everything, guys. Just as I discussed you earlier, awareness only. What we needed? Only the awareness, nothing else too much. So if we go to the basics, like if you think about, yes, at the time of fertilization, you have heard about the baby, at the time of fertilization, what is the first structure that forms? It doesn't form directly your hands, your eyes and everything. So as the sperm travels to the uterus through the fallopian tubes, it attaches to the uterus. What is the first thing that it forms is your, yes, maybe you know the answer. It forms a blastocyte that we call a one cell. So because that cell has formed there, then the things grows easily and slowly. So now you consider that, yes, the basic structure is your cells. So the journey starts from the formation of the cells. And it is very simple, but we never focused on it. So cells, if I'm talking about, so if we talk about the cells, the basic, right? So cell, as a definition itself tells, the cell, if you go through the definition, might be, guys, you know it. You have studied it at your school level, that the cells. Maybe now you can coordinate or correlate the things. Just go through the past memory when you were in the school. So cell, that's why we say that cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. Right? So just remind my two words, structural and functional unit of life. Now I correlated with more deeply, little bit more deeper. Structural and functional, right? Structural and functional unit of life. Now, we have to mark only two words here. Just focus on the two words. The one now itself you connect, this structural and one is functional, right? The one is structural and one is functional. So if I talk about the structural one, when that cell has been formed in the uterus, then after that, slowly, slowly your other organs formed. Heartbeat is there, so heart has formed. Right? Then skeletal system, lungs, and other digestive organs forms. Eyes, slowly, slowly it forms. When there is no cell formation is there is no eyes. There is no limbs. There is no heart. Because the journey starts from the cell first. So it's very simple, right? Now, next thing we come to the functional. So, functional unit means, now, I take you an example. When you have been to the doctor, sometime you got ill, you were not feeling well, you went to the doctor. So, as you went to the doctor asked you first, go through the investigations, some blood investigations. So, as you go through the investigations, as you came with your reports, so as the doctor see the report over there, oh yes, what happens? Your this cell count is increased, your this cell count is decreased. So does it affect your function of your life or not? Just think about that. Is it or not? Yes, it does affect the function of your life. Any inflammation is there, any infection is there. So it affects the functional unit of life. So that's why, guys, the definition is very simple, that structural and functional unit of life. So I hope this does make little bit sense to you with the definition of cells. Now, the next question arises here. How many cells we have? So many, yes. So many cells, right? There is no fixed or constant number. The reason is, there is always degeneration, regeneration, degeneration, regeneration, degeneration, and regeneration of cells. So we have so many cells in our body, but there is no constant number. So now the next thing comes, when the one or more than one cell combines together, right? When the one and more than one cell combines together, what does it form? That is your next structure that we call tissues. Yes, right? When the one or more than one cell combines together. So then the journey next comes to the tissues. So one or more than one cell combines together, it forms tissues. Now we have so many different types of tissues in our body, right? We have so many different types of tissues in our body. So the next thing, when the one or more than one tissue combines together, what does it form? It forms organs, right? It forms organs. Right? So I hope everybody has an organ. So many different organs. Liver is there, kidneys, brain, lungs, heart, etc. We have a digestive organs too. So then when one or more than one organ combines together, then what does it form? This is the next question. So it forms system. If you go through, like, just make an image in your mind, like taking one example, the digestive system. So digestive system is not only stomach. Digestive system doesn't mean it's only your mouth. The digestive system is a combination of the organ which has one function that we call digestion. So not any single organ is working here. The group of organs combines together, they work together and it combines together, and then we give the name digestive system, right? So digestive system, so many different cardiovascular we have, respiratory we have excretory system, we have a nervous system, so many different systems we have, guys. And they have a beautiful role in your life. And very important, each one has its own importance in your life. So you could not ignore that, oh, only I love my heart. I love only my digestive system. I love only my brain. Each and every system has their own significance in your life. So when one and more than one organs combines together, so what they form these systems. So journey starts from cells, tissues, organs and systems. And this is the flow chart of human body. So this is your human body. If we say this is your human body, so it's very simple if you see now. So it's not very complicated, right? It's simple and clear. Cells, then tissues, then organs, then system. And this is the flow chart of human body. So I hope this does make sense to you. Cells, tissues, organs, systems, the complete human body. So this is what we have discussed, like cells, tissues, organ and systems and complete human body. So now we have a different type of tissues, right? It's not only one tissues we have, or we have a category, we have a classification of the tissues. So when I'm talking about these tissues, so types of tissues, this is the next questions. So the types of tissues, we have a different categories. We have 4 main categories that we call, the first start from your epithelium. The second one, connective. Third one, muscle tissue. And the fourth one is your nervous tissue. So these are the 4 different types of tissues: epithelium, connective, muscle and nervous tissue. So this is the classification of the tissues. So when you talk about the classification of the tissues, epithelium, right? Epithelium, just simple, the word itself tells epidermis and dermis. Now maybe you have a little bit idea about that dermis and epidermis, what do we call? Mostly this is the medical term, right? Epidermis, dermis. But most of you know about that. It relates to the skin. So the example is simple. We considered that kind of tissues over your skin. That is epithelial tissue. So the example is skin. Next comes to the connective. Now word, generally if I ask you guys, right? Generally, in general, I am not correlating or relating to with any medical term right now. In general, connective means connection. So connective means that connects 2 structures together. Or maybe it connects 1 or more than 1 structure together. It doesn't mean, it's not necessarily like it only connects 1 structure or 2 structure, maybe 3 or 4 structure it connects together. So connective means connect. So example. Now the example comes to the mind. What are these kind of tissues that is present inside my body? So many different types of tissues we have that comes under the connective tissue. So the first thing we have to clear with the word. What does it mean? Connective means connect. That connect 1 structure or more than 1 structure together. So connective, we have an example. So in connective tissue, you have heard about these terms also. Ligaments we have, right? Everybody has? Yes, that's why you are able to stand right now. Right? That's why you are able to sit right now. That's why you can do chaturanga. That's why you can do any different types of poses. We have ligaments. The next is tendons. And the third one is the fascia, right? Tendons, ligaments, and fascia. So ligaments, everybody knows about the ligaments, everybody knows about the ligament injuries. You have heard about so many times. Or maybe you had an experience in your past with a ligament injury. But you ever notice what does it mean? Ligaments, what is the structure? And where it forms? And where it found? So ligaments is the structure that is responsible for the passive stabilization of the joints. Right? It is a passive structure that stabilizes our joints. Or simple definition if I come, ligament is the structure that connects bone to bone. So ligament is the structure that connects bone to bone. Now, anybody, if you know, who had a ligament injury in the past, or maybe you have experienced that injury in the past, if we take an example of the knee joint. So, if there is any ligament injury in the past, and sometime, what we say, there is a sprain in the ligaments, and sometimes it gets loosened. So, it is for the stability. So when you have a ligament injury on your knee here, right? Sometime you are trying to walk, you walk, and sometimes your joints get locked. And you feel something gets stuck. Right? What do you feel? Locking of the knee. Because stability is not there, guys. You're trying to jump from somewhere, and you again feel there is a lock, and your ligament twists in one direction. So does it affect your stability of the joint or not? Yes. It does affect the stability of your joint. Whenever you're trying to walk sometime very fast, ligament sprain is there. Mostly it happens with the women who wear high heels. Like the position is like that, right? And they try to walk, and sometimes they try to walk more faster, and this happens. And this happens, right? It rotates, it twists, and ligaments get loosened. So this is the structure that connects bone to bone. Right? That connects bone to bone. The next structure comes to you, tendons. We have so many tendons in our body. Right? So many tendons. So tendon is responsible for the mobility, right? For the mobility. So when you talk about the tendons here, simple example if I give you for one tendon, which muscle is this one? If I ask you which muscle is this one, everybody knows biceps, right? This is biceps. It is slightly bend your elbow, only 10 to 15 degree here, and just place your index finger here. You can feel this is some structure that is like, which is like an elasticity over there. And you slightly try to bend and straight your elbow. You feel here is the tendon of your biceps. This is we call the biceps tendon. And this originates from muscle. Which one? Which muscle is this one? Everybody knows. Biceps. So this is what we call the biceps tendon. So tendon is the structure that connects muscle to bone. And here it connects with your bone that is on your forearm, radius. So tendon connects muscle to bone. So it connects muscle to bone. So tendon connects muscle to bone. The next components that come, fascia. Maybe some of you are aware about that, and some is new. Does it mean? The fascia means. So fascia, guys, it is everywhere in your body. Right? You cannot say it is only in one place or only on the one joint. It connects it's like in a sheath. It's like in a layer underneath the muscle. It's like in a sheath, which connects from your skull to your toes. So it is everywhere around your body. So it connects different parts of your body. Sometimes you have a tightness in your muscles. Sometimes there is a deep tightness in your fascia because of overusing of one group of muscles or using a muscle out of alignment. So your fascia gets tight. Right? Your fascia gets tight. So it is the white, deep connective tissue. So fascia, if we take an example of a fascia, I thought everybody has seen an orange, right? So orange, when you take the pulp out, when you take the cover out of the orange, what you see? White structure, white structure, isn't it? That white structure is the fascia inside our body. If we take skin out or from here, what are the structure you find everywhere? The white, deep connective tissue, that is your fascia. And that connects from skull to the toes. Right? So it is like in structure, deep connective tissue that connects from skull to the tip of the toes. So it is a connective tissue. And very deep. So these are the three structures that comes. These are the three examples that comes inside your connective tissue. The first one, ligaments that connects bone to bone. Tendons that connects muscle to bone. And the fascia is your deep connective tissue. Now, the next thing comes to muscle tissue. I hope these two components in your tissues is clear to you. The third one, if it comes, that is your muscle tissue. So muscles, when it comes to your mind, yes, so many different types of muscles we have, and numbers are like more than 640. So many muscles in our body, and it is more than 640 muscles inside your body. But we categorize these muscles mainly into three categories, right? Mainly into three categories. So the first one that we call the skeletal muscles. Second one, cardiac. And the third one is smooth. So skeletal muscle we have, cardiac muscles we have, smooth muscles we have. Now, how we categorize these muscles and where does it found? So, skeletal muscle, right? When I'm talking about the skeletal muscle, this is present around your whole skeletal system, everywhere in the body, over your skeletal system. So these muscles, if I ask you, as I'm holding a pen right now, when I'm awake, when I'm conscious, when I'm asking myself to drop this pen, so it is under my control. Throwing a ball, it is under my control. Lifting my shoulders up, this is under my control when I am conscious. Dropping my shoulders onto the sideways, this is under my control. So now you can correlate that skeletal muscles, right? Skeletal muscles, these are voluntary in control. You can move these muscles according to your own will. And these muscles present or these muscles found around your skeletal system. So these muscles are voluntary in control. So we can move these muscles according to our own will. Second group of muscles, if I comes, cardiac muscles, right? That is your cardiac muscles. So cardiac, when it comes to your mind, it automatically directly shifting your awareness to the heart. So now you know the muscles that present around your heart. These are the big muscles, my dear friends. So these muscles present around your heart, because the name itself tells cardiac. So cardiac, that connects with the heart, that found around your heart region. So now, if I ask you that whenever you want, can you stop your heartbeat? And whenever you want, can you start it again? Possible? No, it's not possible. If it's possible, nobody will die from heart attacks. Nobody will die from any cardiac shock. Nobody will die from any cardiac imbalances or any cardiac diseases. Or you can control, and nobody will suffer from the hypertension in this whole world if we can control these muscles, the cardiac one. Yes, by the different practices of breathing, by different practices of the meditation, and by different cardiac works out, what we can control the rate. We can slow down the rate of the heartbeat. But it's not possible that you can stop and whenever you want, you can start your heartbeat. So these muscles present or found around your heart region, and these are involuntary in control. So cardiac muscles, these are involuntary in control. So skeletal muscles we have discussed that we can move. Right now I am moving from here to here. I am moving from here to here. It is under my control. But if you ask me right now, stop your heartbeat, not possible. Yes, I can control. Or maybe sometime in stress, in the tension, it blows up more. So cardiac muscle, involuntary, not under our control. Now, come to the third group. That is your smooth muscles, right? That is your smooth, or we call it visceral muscles also. Now the question arises, where does it found? The smooth muscles, right? It founds around your internal organs. Like digestive system we have, the muscles are there. Excretory system we have, the muscles are there. So now, smooth muscle, if I give a simple example, my dear friends, a very simple example. Every day you eat the food, right? So as you eat the food, as you swallow it, so as you swallow, if I ask you to stop it here, stop it here, stop it here, stop it here, is it possible? As you swallow, there is a reflex, and the food directly goes to the stomach if there is no obstruction in your food pipe. But if I ask you as you swallow, stop it here, stop, 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 and stop. Possible? Not possible. So problem is here, like smooth muscles also. When we have any internal organ pain, how much the sensitivity of the pain? You could not control it. If I have any pain here, I can do this, right? So there is one effect comes to my brain, that something is happening here, I am massaging, so a general effect, one psychology connects to the brain, yes, something is going on. But the pain that we feel around the internal organs, we cannot control, we cannot push over there anything. So these muscles also, involuntary in control, because we cannot control this muscular movement voluntarily. So these are involuntary in control. So here we talk about the muscle, skeletal voluntary in control, cardiac, involuntary in control, smooth, involuntary in control. Skeletal muscle, present around your skeletal system, cardiac, heart, smooth around your internal organs. So I hope this makes little bit sense to you guys. So next is your nervous tissue now, right? We have talked about the muscle. The next one we come to the nervous tissue. So nervous tissue, yes, it comes to your mind that with the nerves, something related with the nerves. As we have discussed, the cells combine to form the tissues. So in the nervous tissue, the example is neurons, right? The example is neurons, that is the cell, nerve cell. So nervous tissue, the example, neurons. So we have two different types of neurons here. The one we call the sensory, one we call motor neuron. So sensory neuron and motor neurons. So the sensory one, what does it do? Sense, touch, right? Touch, pressure, temperature, that comes to the sensory. Motor, for movement. As somebody pinches you, right? Somebody pinches you like this, what happens? As it pinches very gently, no problem. But as it pinches very deeply, this reaction happens. How does the reaction happen? This happens. Withdrawal. That is the movement, motor. So sensory brings the information from body to brain. Then the brain say, oh, something is painful. Send the brain, send the impulse back to your body, movement. So that is for the movement. Right? So example for the nervous tissue is your sensory and motor. Sensory brings the information from body to brain, and the motor bring the information back from brain to body. So sensory for sense, touch, pressure, temperature, etc. Motor is for the movement. So these are the 4 different types of tissues, guys, which we have discussed from the beginning right now. Like we have discussed about the 4 different types of tissues. So just take a quick revision for that. Started with the first one. Just go through your notes. The first one is your epithelium. So epithelium relates to epidermis, dermis. So the example we know, that is your skin. Second one, if we come, second one is your connective. So the connective tissue that connects different parts together. So the example, the first one we say, just go through your notes, look at there. First one is ligaments that connects bone to bone. Second one is your tendons that connects your muscle to bone. Third one is the fascia, that is a deep connective tissue, like in white sheath, white fibrous tissue over there. Then the third category, we comes to the muscle tissue, right? We have a different example of the muscle tissue too. The first one is we have discussed about skeletal muscle, voluntary in control. Cardiac muscle, involuntary in control. Smooth muscles, involuntary in control. Fourth one comes to the nervous tissue. Example is in neurons, sensory and motor type. So I hope the classification of tissue is clear to you. Now, we have discussed about the cells, tissues. The next thing we come to some movements, right? Now the movements, the different types of movements. In general, your teacher asks, bend forward. In general, your teacher asks, bend backwards. In general, your teacher asks bend on your right side, bend on your left side. But when it comes to the anatomy, and when we go to in upcoming classes to the muscles, the muscular system, the terms will be different. So for biceps, you could not say what is the function of the biceps, action of the biceps. So the term will be changed there. It's not to bend your elbow. There are some anatomical terms. Right? There are some anatomical terms. And that will help you to gain the more deeper understanding to the asanas, postures. If you know about the action, then only you can target the muscle. Yes, this muscle is tight. I'm not able to bend my elbow or flex my elbow, so that's why I can check my biceps. I cannot bend forward properly, so maybe my hamstrings are tight. So the function of the hamstring is not to bend the knee. In general, it's to bend the knee, but when we go more deeply into the muscular system, actions will be different. These are the anatomical terms which we say. And anatomical movements. So let's speak about gently some anatomical terms, right? So anatomical terms and movements. So terms like, if I ask you what does it mean anterior, some people knows anterior, some people know posterior, superior, inferior, proximal, distal. So these a general review we are going to take over there. So anterior, posterior, superior, inferior. Let's take a simple example, anterior. So anterior, the structure will look at the front of the body. We look from the front of the body. Like, example, we have a nose. Yes, this is anterior. There is a forehead, anterior. Lips, anterior. My belly, anterior. My groin region, anterior. My kneecap, anterior. So the structure that we look from the front, that is your anterior. Second, we come to the posterior, the structure that we look from the back part of the body. On the back, I have this occiput here. The whole spine, my hips, my back part of my thighs, my calf muscles, my heel, that all comes posterior. So posterior, these are the structures that we look from the back part of the body. So anterior from the front, posterior from the back. Now the next thing comes superior, inferior. Superior and inferior. So superior, which is, we have to always consider the body from the top part, right? Top part to the down. From up to the down. So superior, if I talk about in relation to the joints. In relation to the joint. Which joint is this one? Shoulder. And this one? Elbow. So shoulder is superior than elbow. Or we can say elbow is inferior in relation to shoulder. So shoulder is superior. It comes first from the up part of the body. There are some other joints too, but in simple we are taking to the shoulder. Everybody is aware about that. So shoulder is superior in relation to elbow. Elbow is inferior in relation to shoulder. So the next thing comes, some words over there like proximal and distal. proximal and distal. So this is in relation to the trunk. The structure that is close to the trunk is proximal, and the structure that is away from the trunk, that is distal. Suppose there is a bone which we say collar bone, right? Collar bone, and the trunk is here in the middle. So if I ask about this joint here, from where the collarbone starts and where does it finish? So this part is proximal and this part is distal. This part is proximal in relation to this joint and this is distal because this is away from the trunk. My ribs are proximal, but my elbow joint is distal to the trunk. So proximal, which is near to the trunk, and the distal, which is away from the trunk. So these are the anatomical terms: anterior, front, posterior, back, superior, above part of the body, inferior, down part of the body, proximal, which is close to the trunk, and distal, which is away from the trunk. Is it clear, guys, to everyone? Just go through it, and you can practice yourself in your free time too. So, terms which we have discussed, now the movements. Movements are simple too, guys. Just it takes a little bit time. If we revise it properly, then it will be more easy. So, movements like not bending forward, not bending backward, not bending on the side. So, movement comes under, if we talk about, like the movement terminology, flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, next come to the adduction. So adduction now, this is the term which we call adduction. Adding. The word itself tells the meaning. Adding. Adduction, abduction is away from the midline, right? Adduction, when I'm moving or when I'm coming towards the midline of the body, right? Towards the midline of the body. If my hips are closed, adduction. If I'm crossing my one leg over other, adduction. If I'm hugging myself and doing this pose, that you call eagle. Shoulder adduction, hip adduction. So movement towards the midline of the body. Sometimes you stand like this, adduction. Sometimes you stand like this, adduction. So this is the adduction of the shoulders and the adduction of the hips. So adduction is movement towards the midline. So abduction, movement away from the midline of the body. Adduction, movement towards the midline of the body. Next comes to the rotation. So rotation is in, we can say, a circular movement around one plane. The rotation is a movement around one plane. The circular movement over there. Right? The rotation, this is rotation we are saying. Rotation on one plane. Right? So rotation, the movement around and one plane. So movement around, or we can say circular movements. The circular movement around in one angle, around one axis. the circular movement around an axis that we call rotation, that we call the twist also in general term. So these are some important terms that we have discussed: flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, and rotation. Is it clear to everyone? I hope that makes little bit sense to you with the anatomical. So these anatomical movements which we have discussed, guys, right now: flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, and rotation. Let's take in one movement again. A quick revision for there. Flexion, if we suppose let's come to the standing posture, all of you please, wherever you are right now, and let's go for the flexion of the hip. Correlate, how we have discussed before. Flexion of the hip joint is here. Flexion, it's here, right? Extension, if I turn around, kicking my leg backwards, extension of the hip, right? Flexion, extension. Flexion of the shoulder here, extension of the shoulder here. Flexion of the hip here, extension here, right? Abduction, adduction, it happens only on your movable joints. So most movable, hip and shoulder. So abduction of the hip, like this, away from the midline. Abduction of the shoulder, away from the midline of the body. Now, flexion, extension, abduction, adduction is here of the hip. Adduction of the shoulder here. Adding towards the midline of the body. Next thing, now the question is, how to do this movement? Flexion, extension, abduction, and adduction on your spine. Flexion we have discussed, bending forward, angle decreases. Extension, angle increases, bending backwards. Now, how to do abduction and adduction of the spine? Think about it. Think. Possible? A spine itself is a midline. Yes or no? Spine itself is a midline. Is it possible to move the midline from its origin? So sometimes people try to do this flexion, this is abduction, this is abduction. No. So abduction and adduction is not possible on your spinal column. What you try to do this and this is the different term. So when we are moving this side, so this is left side flexion because the angle decreases here and right side increases. So if I'm doing side bending on the left, flexion of the spine. Side bending on the left, flexion on the left side, extension on the right. But I'm moving and bending on the right side flexion, left side extension. So that we called lateral flexion because we are moving away this side from the midline. So lateral flexion and lateral extension on the sideways. So clear to everyone? So this is not abduction and adduction. This is lateral flexion and lateral extension. So abduction and adduction is not possible on your spinal column. So next thing we come to the some more general movements of other joints too. The plantar flexion, the dorsiflexion, inversion, eversion, right? Plantar dorsi, inversion, eversion. In relation to ankle joint. Which joint? Ankle joint. So plantar, the plantar surface is the front part of your ankle, front part of your feet, which when you plant on the floor like this. So I am planting this surface, right? I am planting this part, the front part. So plantar flexion, we say, well, we must say like, when I'm on my toes. So when I put toes pointing towards the floor, like this is plantar flexion. When the toes faces towards the floor. So this is plantar flexion. This is plantar flexion. This is plantar flexion. So when the toes pointed towards the floor. So this is plantar flexion. Dorsum is the back part of these feet. So when your four toes pointing towards the floor, towards the ceiling, or when the toes pointing towards yourself, that is dorsiflexion. So plantar flexion when I'm walking on my toes. Dorsiflexion when I'm walking on my heel. Or when the toes pointed towards the floor, or when the toes pointed towards yourself. So, plantar flexion, toes pointed towards ceiling or to the roof. Toes pointed towards, sorry, there is one mistake. So when the plantar flexion, toes pointed towards the floor. Dorsiflexion when the toes pointed towards ceiling or roof. So plantar, this, dorsi, like this way. So plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. The next term is the inversion and eversion. So in relation to yoga posture, inversion is when your head upside down. That is your inversion, right? But here in relation to ankle anatomy or in relation to the ankle joint, the term is different. The movement is different. How it could be different now? We can see what we say this is. Which part is this one? This is your sole of the feet. Right? This is the sole. So this one is the sole of the feet, this part. So when the sole of the feet pointed towards, this is my midline. Right? So when the sole of the feet pointed towards the midline. Sole of the feet pointed towards the midline, inversion. And when the sole of the feet pointed outwards, eversion. Right? So if we say slightly more deeply, I can show you from another angle here. So this is the sole of the feet, right? Pointed, this is my midline, inversion. Sole of the feet pointed outwards, or sole of the feet pointed outwards like this. This is eversion. So inwards, towards the midline, inversion, everted, outside. When the sole of the feet faces outside, eversion. So suppose sometimes people try to walk like this way, guys, right? Sometimes people has this type of feet. Inverted. Everted. So this is when the sole of the feet inside facing like this, inversion, eversion, inversion, eversion. Inverted feet, everted feet. So when the sole of the feet faces inward, inversion. Sole of the feet faces outside, eversion. So I hope this makes a little bit sense to you guys. Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, inversion, eversion. Now the next movement. supination, pronation. So next movement, guys, after the plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, inversion and eversion, the next movement here comes to the supination, pronation, protraction and retraction, right? So supination, these terms in relation to wrist joint also or elbow joint also, we can say supination, pronation. Or we can say over there in relation to your body also, when you're laying down in the different sides or in the different planes, in the different movements. So supine, supination. First let's talk about the wrist movement, right? Supine. So how you soup? When you take a soup, when you try to eat the soup, the position of the palm is like this way, right? So supination, when the palm facing upwards, right? When the palm facing upwards, supination. Pronation, when the palm faces downwards. Palm faces upwards, supination, pronation, palm faces downwards. So if you have seen the beggar, on the street, so beggar always supinates. They ask to give something. So supination, you can easily learn in that way also. So beggar always supinates. And you have seen the king always pronates the people. So supination, this movement. So beggar supinates, king pronates. Beggar supinates, king pronates. So this is supination when the palm faces upwards, pronation when the palm faces downwards. It's clear to everyone? Next, in relation to your body in the lying position. So when I'm laying down, on my back, so I am on my spine, isn't it? I am on my spine. So that is supine. When my tummy, my front part of the body, anterior part of the body faces upwards, that is supination in lying down position. Pronation, when I am on my belly. So when my posterior part of the body faces upwards. So supination on your spine, supine on your spine, prone when I'm on my belly, back part of the body faces upwards. So supination, pronation, as we have discussed in the lying down position, when my front part of the body faces upwards, and when my back part of the body faces upwards, that is pronation and supination. So supination in relation to your palm, in relation to your wrist, when the palm faces upwards. So palm faces upwards, supination, and palm faces downwards, that is your pronation. So supination, palm faces upwards, and palm faces downwards, pronation. Next is the protraction and retraction. These are the movements in relation to your scapula, in relation to your shoulder blades, right? On your side of your spine. On the either side of your spine, your shoulder blades. So when the scapula moves away, or simple example if I take you, when somebody hits on your face, so how you protect yourself? This happens. How you protect? This happens. So when the scapula is moving away from the midline, so scapular abduction also we say scapular abduction. So when the scapula moves away from the body, away from the spine, this is supination, right? This is protraction. So when the scapula moves away from the midline, so this is scapular abduction or protraction. Retraction, when the scapula comes towards the midline or towards the spine, right? When you are trying to open your chest, retraction. So we also call it scapular adduction because it is coming closer towards the midline. It is moving towards the midline. So scapular protraction, this is protraction away from the midline. This is retraction towards the midline. So protraction, retraction. So scapular movement away from spine, protraction. And the retraction is scapular movement towards the midline or towards the spine. So these are the anatomical movements, guys. Right? These are the anatomical movements. It's not easy to learn in a single class. So as you go to your yoga poses now, it takes a revision. It takes practice also. The movements which we have discussed from the beginning, if you quickly go through it, like if I say started with a flexion of the spine, extension of the spine, right? A rotation of the spine, that you call twisting. Abduction of the shoulder, abduction of the hip, right? Adduction of the shoulder, adduction of the hip. Adduction of the shoulder, adduction of the hip. If we go through another movement which we have discussed, this is the flexion of the knee, extension of the knee. Then we have discussed about the plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, inversion, eversion, right? Then we discussed about the supination, pronation, supination, pronation, scapular protraction, retraction, protraction, retraction. So protraction is taking the scapula away from the midline, retraction is opening the chest. When you open your chest, scapula goes towards the midline. So these are the anatomical movements that you can practice. Just revise every day. And whenever you're going for easy way to learn, right? How the easy way to learn, I'm giving you one demo here. If you are going for one pose, suppose, right? You're going for one pose. Just try to, when you're in a pose, just try to rewind your mind, revise in your mind, practice every day. If I'm going to the warrior 2, right? If I'm going to the warrior 2, or if I'm in Tadasana, simple pose. So you can see my feet, ankle is neutral. Until it's not going like this. Then if it is going like this, eversion. Or if it is going like this, inversion of my feet. It's clear? Until my feet is neutral, ankle is neutral. Knee extended, because the knee is straight. Hip, neutral here. It's clear? Spine, neutral. Extended. Spine is neutral. If I'm doing like this, flexion of the spine. If I'm doing this like this, extension of the spine. So spine, neutral. Shoulder, neutral. Elbow, extended. And this is in between supination and pronation. But if I'm standing like this way, in Tadasana, then what do we say? Palm facing forward. Now if I'm going for the warrior 2 from here, so look at component wise. If I'm going from the warrior 2 here, so first your teacher asks, just bring your one leg or open your hips together here. So what is happening here, guys? Yes, abduction of the hip. Knees are extended. If your feet is neutral, it's okay. But if your feet is going again like this, inversion or eversion. So this is eversion, inversion, right? Then your teacher asks, bring your right feet out. Right feet out. Then you can see what is happening now. I'm bending my knee. So this is flexion of the knee. Here is the abduction of the hip. Take your right ankle out a little bit. Then sit on your right knee. So this is flexion of the knee. And I'm sitting on my hip also slightly. So this is flexion of the hip too here. Back leg, knee extended. Don't do this. Again it is everted. Press it out, neutral. Then from here, you can see my spine is straight, extended. If this is happening, flexion. This is happening, extension. My spine is extended here. Now I am coming from this movement. So if we see what is happening to my elbows, or what is happening to my shoulders, first we talk about the shoulder, abduction, isn't it? Then we go to the elbows, extended. Palms, look at the palms, look at the palms. Yes, pronation, because palm faces downwards. So this way you can learn this movement and revise every day, every day, every day. Just self-revision in your mind. Oh, when I'm doing this posture, what is happening to my knee? What is happening to my hip? So just check, go through the definitions, and slowly, slowly, you can easily to correlate this. So I hope, guys, today's lesson is clear to you. Any questions, any queries, you can feel free to contact us. Thank you. Namaste. Have a nice day.